So my guy Hebrew browser asked the question: How do we know that Josiah and Hezekiah existed, and you Torah was reproofed by them? Okay, so first, and no disrespect, reproofed means to shame or discipline someone. It doesn't mean like proofread, and even proofread is to make sure that there are no vernacular or spelling errors. So what I said was edit. They edited the Bible. They changed it, the Torah. So how do we know that Josiah and Hezekiah existed? So Hezekiah existed around 720 something BCE, and his reign was 27 years. The reason why we can validate that he actually existed, or more than likely existed, is because there are, of course, literature in the Torah. There's literature of the Assyrians talking about him. There's literature of the Egyptians talking about him. And even though there's literature of Herodotus and literature of Josephus, they wrote centuries later. So that's just literature. But what I look for and what I found is that there are seals. There are royal seals, servant seals, that of those servants who belong to Hezekiah. And the fact that I put a lot of credence on seals is because when royalty back then wanted to move a message or transfer a message and make sure it had the authority of the person who was given the message, they had their personal seals that they would put on the letter or something like that. Now, there are also Assyrian tablets, and most of the time tablets are talking about things that are current. Tablets aren't necessarily talking about history. Now, as far as Josiah, there's actually no physical evidence of Josiah, but since he came about 30, 40, 60 years after Hezekiah, you will tend to say, okay, that is a greater possibility. But we don't have any archaeological evidence about Josiah. Now, the fact of them editing the Torah, the reason why we can look at the fact that they edited the Torah is, one, because they said so in your Torah, that no longer will we worship Baal, but we will only worship Yahweh. We also see at that time frame that the newer temples that were built during that time frame did not have poles used for worship, where they put the idols on top of for any other god other than Yahweh, and there was a strict adherence to them worshiping Yahweh, and they moved away from worshiping Baal and Asherah as their unit, as a trinity. But we saw that there were ancient tombs before them, ancient temples before them that did worship these people. But just in the literature of the Torah, we see the change of going from worshiping Baal, Asherah, and Yahweh to just Yahweh only. So that's why I would give credence to Hezekiah.